Have you ever felt that the more you chase success, the further it seems to go? As soon as you reach one goal, the next one is bigger than that. And yet, there is an emptiness in some corner of the heart. We all want the thrill of achievement, promotion, recognition, applause. But this excitement often brings with it an unseen burden. Slowly, we start walking on a path that is not made of our expectations, but of society's. Every decision seems high stakes. Even a small mistake seems like a huge defeat. We start fearing to take bold steps, lest we fail. And then begins that vicious cycle: fear, doubt, and paralysis. But Jim Murphy says, the key to getting out of pressure is not to eliminate fear. Real mastery is when we learn to move forward even with fear. This book teaches us how to silence our inner voice, leave external validation, and move towards our internal mastery. You'll learn how to handle that inner voice that keeps asking, why would you do that? And how to develop the mindsets that keep elite performers calm and focused under pressure. So if you're ready to move toward inner excellence, where fear becomes the pathway, not the obstacle, this is the first step. Lesson 1. Meaning is greater than achievement. Joe Ehrmann, a name that echoed in the NFL grounds. Money, fame, status. He had it all. But still, there was emptiness in a corner of his heart, as if he had everything but still had nothing. Joe was always taught that a man is one who is dominant, whose value is determined by his success. This was the script of the world: achieve more, become more. But when he said goodbye to sports and started coaching, for the first time he started thinking, is this really the real power? He saw that the real power is in integrity, in relationships, in lifting others up. When he started making young people good human beings, not good athletes, only then did his life have the meaning that never came from trophies. Most of us fall into this trap. Our worth is linked to our achievements. Earn more, prove more. But this finish line of society is never static. The more you run, the further it moves away. The real problem: mental saboteurs. But this shift is not easy, because the mind is filled with fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure. This fear comes from 3 mental patterns. 1. Trickster shows you past mistakes again and again, says, you will fail again. 2. Critic turns every small mistake into shame. 3. Monkey mind distracts you at every moment, divides your focus into pieces. These 3 together strangle your confidence. But as soon as you start looking at your progress from a different perspective, on internal growth instead of external results, fear's grip starts loosening. Now every mistake becomes a lesson, and every effort starts feeling meaningful. Emotional close with reflection, like Joe Ehrmann, when you stop defining the world and start listening to your own voice. Only then do you take the first step towards inner excellence. And perhaps this is the success that never fades, because it comes from within, not from outside. Lesson 2. Fear as fuel for focus. 15 July 2007. Lewis Gordon Pugh was standing on the icy surface of the North Pole, a man who was about to swim a kilometer in ice water. The water was on the verge of freezing, and the bones of the body were in a condition of breaking. The doctors had said, you will not be able to survive. There were marks of previous failed attempts on his hands. Fear had shaken him. But then something changed. Lewis asked himself, why am I here? The answer was, to draw people's attention to climate change. And as soon as he focused on his mission, the fear started melting, and with every stroke he went on, making the impossible possible. In such a situation where most people break down, why do people like Lewis stay there? The reason is 3 qualities. 1. Emotional commitment, when your purpose is connected to the heart. 2. Perspective, when you see yourself in the big picture. Lesson 3. Control emotions, control outcomes. Imagine a kid, just 5 years old, Muggsy Boggs, but Muggsy didn't let the situation become his reality. He focused his power on what he had in his hands: mindset, hard work, and emotional strength. Result: he stayed in the NBA for 14 years. Despite being the smallest player, he stood in front of the biggest players, without fear, without bowing down. If your emotions are uncontrolled, they can ruin both your decisions and performance. But if you develop emotional mastery, you don't become a slave to circumstances. You create the circumstances yourself. People often react instinctively to stress or failure, anger, panic, or giving up. But those who learn through training how to stay calm, how to think with clarity, become consistent high performers. Your body posture also shapes your emotions. Sitting slouched, breathing shallowly, these are states of doubt and defeat. But if you stand up tall and take deep breaths, you build confidence. When you repeatedly picture yourself winning a tough situation in your mind treats it like a real experience. And then when the real moment arrives, you don't panic, you execute. If your subconscious has believed that I am going to fail, you find ways to prove it to yourself without even realizing it. But if you challenge your belief system and fill it with new confidence, your world begins to change. College softball player Callista Balco had lost to Texas star pitcher Cat Osterman several times. But instead of giving up, she did mental rehearsal. She saw herself as a winner over and over again. And when the match came again, she did exactly what she had planned in her mind. She hit the game-winning hit. Mental programming is not magic. It is built. With practice, affirmations that repeatedly remind you to say, yes, I can. Visualization, where you visualize success in your mind first. Anchoring, a physical action, such as a deep breath or strong posture, that triggers confidence. Mental strength is not inherited, it is built. Every day, every practice, every time you rise above fear, you create a new warrior inside you, one who can overcome the odds. 3. Presence. When your focus is on no, even amidst pressure, talent alone is not enough. If you are working only for approval, then fear will control you. But if you are working with passion and authenticity, then you become a horse for the long race. Those who are focused only on their fears and limitations are unable to see the next step. But performers who think ahead, learn, adapt, are able to execute. When the moment comes, ego says, I want control, I want recognition, I cannot bear failure. But people who develop resilience focus on growth, not validation. For them, defeat is not an identity, but a learning point. Fear remains powerful as long as the focus is on I, my future, my safety, my image. But as soon as you work for some bigger purpose, to master a cause, mission, or craft, fear loses its power. Warrior wisdom, the samurai way. Samurai warriors had understood this centuries ago. He used to train his mind as much as his body. By meditating on death, he became free from hesitation. His sadhana was not for fame, it was only for mastery. Lewis Gordon Pugh was able to win only when he considered his mission bigger than his fear. And this is the formula for every person who does not crumble under pressure, but shines even more. Lesson 4. When everything is at stake, warriors win with their minds. 15 January 2009 was an ordinary date, but in a few minutes, this day became history. As soon as US Airways Flight 1549 took off from New York's LaGuardia Airport, some birds hit it and shut down both its engines, the plane falling from the sky towards the ground. 155 lives, and no hope of survival. But there was one man in the cockpit of the plane, Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger. He did not panic, did not shout, just did one thing, focus. By removing all the unnecessary things from his mind, he focused on only one thing: how to make a safe landing. With his years of training and mental discipline, Sully made the plane emergency land in the Hudson River, and all 155 people were saved. This was not just a technical success, this was a victory of mental mastery. When life enters a high-pressure mode, whether it is a big pitch, a performance, or the moment of a business deal, that is where the decision is made. Will you be average or a legend? Being in the present moment is a superpower. The problem is that our mind is often either entangled in past mistakes or immersed in what can go wrong in the future. But the greatest skill of winners is to get completely into the moment. The very moment in which to take action. The very moment in which to make a change. How to enter the zone? First of all, simplify your thoughts. Overthinking, hesitation, key death of performance. When the mind is clear, action is fast and precise. The second way, pay attention to the little things around you, like the sound of the ball for an athlete, or the rhythm of your breath. This pulls you into the present moment. Make pressure your ally, not your enemy. Great performers don't avoid pressure. They use it. Stress is fuel, not an obstacle. If you look at a challenge as fear, your body will get tense. Your decision-making will slow down. But if you think, this is my moment, you can activate your best version under the same pressure. Like Captain Sully, the engines stop working at times in life. But if your mind is calm, your focus is clear, and you know how to live in the moment. You can turn a crash into a controlled landing. Lesson 5. Victory is achieved by the one who defeats himself every day. 887 wins. Only 2 losses. This is not the story of a superhero. This is Alexander Karelin, a wrestler whom people used to call the Experiment. He used to dominate so much in the world of Greco-Roman wrestling that his opponents used to get scared before accepting defeat. But the question is, did God give him special powers? Maybe yes. But what he used to do, no God does that. Not even a human being. He used to make his training so difficult that the real fights would seem easy. Alexander Karelin believed, if my preparation is not more difficult than my fight, then I am not ready. This mindset made him different from the rest. The most successful people in the world are not necessarily the most talented, but they are definitely the most committed. They keep working on improving themselves every day, whether anyone is watching or not, because they know they need progress, not applause. If you link your self-worth to medals or promotions, you will always feel empty. But if you focus on learning, fulfillment will come automatically. This journey of growth is not easy. Failure is inevitable, but elite performers consider failure as feedback, not an insult. But elite performers consider failure as feedback, not an insult. They don't take the mistake personally. They analyze it, adjust it, and become even better the next time. The sooner you remove emotional attachment from failure and consider it a learning opportunity, the faster you grow. The real meaning of leadership. True leaders grow with others, not just themselves. Michael Jordan inspired his teammates, not with his hard work. Navy SEALs are not just the best in physical toughness, but also in mental toughness. They make discipline a culture. And Maslow's research says, those who understand and improve themselves every day are the most fulfilled. Many people think that success means defeating others, but that path leads to burnout. Top performers compete against themselves, like Olympic swimmer Ian Crocker did. When the pressure of a medal started eating away his passion, he stopped external validation and started refining himself. And then he found a deeper purpose. The real joy of success comes when you defeat yourself every day, push your own limits. Then not only does your performance increase, but every moment of that journey gives you satisfaction. Performers. Your body posture also shapes your emotions. Sitting slouch, breathing shallowly, these are states of doubt and defeat. But if you stand up tall and take deep breaths, you build confidence. When you repeatedly picture yourself winning a tough situation in your mind treats it like a real experience. And then when the real moment arrives, you don't panic, you execute. If your subconscious has believed that I am going to fail, you find ways to prove it to yourself without even realizing it. But if you challenge your belief system and fill it with new confidence, your world begins to change. College softball player Calista Balco had lost to Texas star pitcher Cat Osterman several times. But instead of giving up, she did mental rehearsal. She saw herself as a winner over and over again. And when the match came again, she did exactly what she had planned in her mind. She hit the game-winning hit. Mental programming is not magic. It is built. Subscribe to our YouTube channel Bytes AI now. And don't forget to like this video every week. We get such life-changing book stories just for you.